Welcome to the Good Rookies podcast. My name's Fahim.
And my name is Nelly J, y'all. And we are Good Rookies.
That's right.
What's going on, everybody? Happy Good Tuesday. And guess what? It's episode 75.
75.
Okay. 7 and 5. Y'all, I'm so excited because we have my Trinidadian brother, okay, on the podcast tonight. This man knows all things, all sports. He's also a podcaster, a pod brother. So Fahim, please introduce who we got.
Like you said, he's a podcaster. He's a pod brother. He gets busy in this podcast lane from the big old podcast. Let's welcome Julian Ortiz to the podcast today.
Julian. Man,
you guys always come with like the fire intros, like the pregame speech is always good. Like once we get rolling, once the lights come on bright and the camera starts rolling, you guys are always in your bag. And once again, as I always say, appreciate the opportunity to be here. Stir the pot on some things, and I know we got a great show ahead of us. So I just appreciate the opportunity to come and join you too and get to experience what you do best.
Oh, man. Thank you so much. I just love the love, man. I love the love. So, the Big Old Podcast, amazing podcast, y'all. Please subscribe. It's on all podcast platforms, okay? Legit, it's really good content, really good content. So before we get into the episode, though, Julian, what's hot right now is the NFL playoffs, all right? Wild card games happened. I picked perfect. Every team that I chose won. I'm not saying I'm the NFL, guru here. I just feel like this wasn't really hard to decide on because, as we know, when teams get hot at the right times, right, it kind of goes into the playoffs. So was there any wild card games? I mean, you are a Patriots fan. So were you surprised by your team's performance? At first, I was like, are they even playing? Are they trying? What happened with the Patriots?
I mean, was I surprised? No. Buffalo, as much as I like to hate on Buffalo, they're a good team. They're the best team in the AFC East. It wasn't even close. Mac Jones, as a rookie, did what he needed to do to get the Patriots into the playoffs. But the Patriots faded down the stretch. The Patriots had, I think, when they had that first game against Buffalo, when he threw 3 passes and completed like 1 or 2 of them, and they got the W, but it was a sign of things to come, and they just did not look good the rest of the way. Sure, they put up a 50-burger on the Jacksonville Jaguars, who beat the Buffalo Bills, which was crazy. It just, people in Patriots Nation were hoping that Allen had a bad game, that we could get Buffalo twice, but it just didn't happen. Buffalo was the better team from the jump. And, the only thing I will say is that Buffalo afterwards were talking about this was their Super Bowl, 20 years of being little brother. Well, I have to say, this is their Super Bowl because it's over. It's done. The dream is finished. Buffalo Bills are going to come back down to reality. And unfortunately, when a division game or a wild card game is your Super Bowl, you got problems. But hey, listen, congratulations. Take your W. But, we'll see you on the golf course in a few weeks.
Oh, man. Patriots already telling Buffalo, pack it up. So let's go over what's going to happen. Okay. So this weekend coming up, this will come out after these games. So we got Tennessee versus the Bengals. We got Chiefs versus the Bills. Then we got the Niners versus Green Bay. I think one of the hottest teams, scary teams. And then we also got Tampa, Mr. Tom Brady back. I think they said he's older than all the NFC coaches that are remaining in the playoffs. Yep. That's how old he is. Versus the Rams, who also got hot at the right time. So Bengals and Rams got hot at the right time. And even the Niners did. So what's your thoughts on these 4 matchups and any predictions you want to have for what's going to happen this weekend?
Who knew Jimmy G getting hurt and being questionable down the stretch of the season was going to be one of the best things for the 49ers, because it really forced them to figure out what their identity was. And Trey Lance is not the solution. I think they're going to have to go back to the drawing board at the end of the season and figure out what to do. But who knew starting a wide receiver as your running back would be the ultimate solution? Deebo Samuel has proven to be the most ridiculous X factor in the game since Ronnie Brown back on the Miami Dolphins when they had the Wildcat offense. My predictions. Let's start with that real quick. Let's go.
Yeah.
Chiefs get
Bills.
business done. Yeah, it's the Chiefs. Mahomes. You didn't mention Mahomes getting hot, and they basically got
they
hot.
did get hot. They had to, because at the beginning of the season, everyone was like, "Is this the same team we saw last year?" So yeah, absolutely.
Pat Mahomes fell in love with football again, and I think you could see that. I think he's starting to have fun again, and I think that's one of the best things. They get it done. Derrick Henry's coming back. People forget Derrick Henry was the guy before he went down with injury. They thought they lost him for the season. He's coming back. People fell in love with Jonathan Taylor, but Derrick Henry been doing it all before, and he was unstoppable. Tennessee also gets it done. Joe Burrow, Joe Mixon, Jamar Chase, you guys are going to be here in the future, but this ain't it. This ain't your year. Enjoy your first playoff win in forever, but we'll see you guys again in the future.
Absolutely.
That's where my favorites stop. In the NFC, San Francisco 49ers go to Lambeau Field, and they shock the world. They're going to beat
hot take. They're
going to beat A-Fraud. And A-Fraud is going to show why time and time again he can play in a big game, but there's a reason he only has one. I don't think they get it done. I think, unfortunately, this is Jimmy G going into the house that Brett Favre built and gets a W. And I'm torn with the last one because
that's the toughest one.
my preseason Super Bowl prediction was the LA Rams versus the Tennessee Titans.
I remember.
I got a shot. I can still be there. So I got to take the Rams only because I got to stay. I'm a betting guy. I stick with my bets. But, man, it's hard to bet against a motivated Tom Brady, despite the fact that he's got one good wide receiver, a great tight end, and they don't have a running back that can rush for more than 50 yards. The recipe is there for the Rams to get the W, and I think Odell Beckham Jr. has shown everyone over the last 6 games why he was the guy, why he continues to be the guy. I'll take the Rams, getting it done in Tampa, playing, I think, a home game in the NFC conference against the San Francisco 49ers. That's my prediction for this upcoming weekend.
Wow. So I agree with you with 2, but so I agree with you with the AFC. However, I'm going to call it audible. I'm going to say Buffalo Bills are going to get it done against the Chiefs.
Wow.
I'm sorry. I'm going to have a hot take. Because typically I go with what's predicted. Pat Mahomes, nothing against him. I'm picking Buffalo against the Chiefs. I think Buffalo is a terrible matchup for the Chiefs. And I think they're going to – it'll be a close game, but I just think the Buffalo Bills have what it takes defense-wise and offense-wise to actually beat this team. On the NFC, I'm picking A-Rod because I think it's his last season. I think he's very motivated too, as well. His eyes are different. I feel like he's coming back with that killer instinct. I don't think San Francisco has enough to stop A-Rod of the Packers. I'm sorry. And I'm sorry, I can't go against Tom Brady. So, we'll see what happens. It's all good fun and games, predictions. But Fahim, do you want to make any thoughts as well on the playoffs at all, Fahim?
Yeah, I'm rolling with Bills Mafia. I think they get it done.
Okay.
Green Bay. I'm going Rodgers. Not just because it's a safe bet, but it feels like it's right. It's the playoffs, and he's having that kind of season, I'd assume. And lastly, I just want to throw, because by the time this comes out, these games have already been done.
They'll be done, y'all.
I want to throw Julian. Give us your Super Bowl prediction very quickly of who you got.
I'm sticking with it. I haven't seen anything that says that either of these two teams can't do it. So I got the LA Rams playing for the second straight year a home game at SoFi Stadium. Okay, we're gonna have the first time in history that we get back-to-back Super Bowl teams in the Super Bowl hosting at their stadium. I got the Tennessee Titans, the LA Rams, and I got the LA Rams getting it done. I really like him. I like Matt Stafford. I like Sean McVay. I love everything about LA. And I love the fact that in LA, they don't even care about this team, but it will be a packed stadium. It will be a time of a lifetime. So yeah, here we go. LA Rams over Tennessee Titans.
Wow. Okay. Well, y'all, this is predictions. Let's see what happens. It'll come out after, so we can definitely talk some smack, definitely on Clubhouse or on on WhatsApp or IG. But yeah, love playoffs, guys. Enjoy. I hope everyone has a great playoff weekend. And Fahim, let's get into some hot topics, brother. Let's go.
Yeah, Novak Djokovic. Australian Open. This is before it actually started, but now we're in the swing of things. The Australian Open started. Djokovic with his visa. This is a combination of visa, just thoughts on the pandemic. There's a lot going on with Djokovic, and I know, Julian, you got some heat with this. So we haven't discussed this at all. We throw out the topics, and I want you to sort of lead with this, and we'll follow up on what you got with Djokovic.
So Novak Djokovic is.
Novak Djokovic.
I mean, it's like it's crazy. I'm going to say this. He's the greatest tennis player of all time. Let me start with that. So let me give him his flowers. He is the most talented tennis player we have ever seen get on the court.
Already at this point or do you think because he's projected to have talented at this most right now?
He said talented, so he said talented though. He said talented.
Thank you, Jay.
So his talent is
talented.
Most talented. Yeah.
Okay.
He's the most talented. He's the most talented. And the comparison I'll give is Aaron Rodgers. I think to this point is the most talented quarterback to ever play the game. Tom Brady is the greatest quarterback to ever play the game. There are two differences in this, but A-Rod's got all the talent. Tom Brady is a great quarterback, greatest of all time to ever do it. Novak Djokovic is the most talented tennis player to ever pick up a racket. And if you look at his career, if he had done what he was supposed to do early on by taking care of his body, getting the right nutritionist, by being able to stay hydrated during these intensely hot games at the Australian Open and really trust the people around him, the record of most major championships wouldn't even be close at this point. We wouldn't have a three-way tie, but we do. Novak Djokovic, Rafa Nadal, Roger Federer. The problem, and this relates to A-Rod again, is that Novak Djokovic's character is the one thing that stands between people anointing him the greatest tennis player of all time. And I think that comes with a lot of fairness. I think he's talented, but he says all of the wrong things. He is the ultimate villain. He has no care for anybody else. And the Australian Open is the perfect example of that. He has been a critic of COVID-19, the way it's been handled with vaccines. I mean, he tested positive back in I want to say it was in Madrid months ago. Even though he tested positive, he was still breaking the curfew laws that was imposed in Spain at the time that was going through a huge surge because he did not care about what was going on. He then did not quarantine when he originally landed in Australia and has said he's not going to declare his vaccination status. We don't know if he's vaccinated or not, kind of like a Kyrie Irving kind of situation. He just says, I'm not going to declare whether or not I am vaccinated. He got an exemption. Then the exemption got reviewed. Then all of a sudden the governing bodies and the government were saying, hey, I don't know if this is really the merits of how an exemption should work. Novak Djokovic should understand that Australia was one of the countries who got hit the hardest with COVID-19. They had more lockdowns than Ontario. So if you live in Ontario, if you know, you know. We've been lockdown 17 currently right now. Family members of people who live in Australia are barred from traveling into the country if they are unvaccinated. So the ultimate show of disrespect is someone who thinks they are above what's best for a country because of a sporting event and trying to flex those muscles to say, hey, even though it's not the right thing for me to do, it's still something that I'm going to pursue. I am happy they put him on a flight. I am happy they put him in that quarantine hotel to make him feel like just another average Joe. Novak Djokovic, I think Rafael Nadal came out in the presser and said, you want to play, get vaccinated. You don't want to get vaccinated, you're not going to play. And it's as simple as that.
Yeah.
And Novak Djokovic, villain. And the funny thing is, not just exclusive to the Australian Open anymore. France is passing a law in the
Okay.
coming weeks or months before the French Open that
Right.
states that in order to participate in events, you will have to be fully vaccinated, which means a man who's tied for the most majors of all time is going to miss 2 major championships this year. And that right there is another selfish reason that he may not ever be considered the greatest tennis player of all time, because he puts himself, he makes terrible decisions, says all the wrong things. I don't know. Djokovic, great player, terrible human being. My opinion only.
Yeah. I mean, for him, I can't follow up after that. I think, Julian said what he said. Like, at the end of the day, you have to respect these countries. Some have been through a lot worse than others. However, if you want to participate on their land and do things amongst their people, they have the right to reject you if you don't want to be vaccinated. Like, the Australia government is their decision, right? And tennis isn't like a team sport where, like with Brooklyn, right? How Kyrie is playing away games, and because in the States, every state has their own rules, but in New York, you can't play in New York, right? So think of New York as Australia. You can't play there, right? So Novak's going to be playing in less opens because of his decision. So at the end of the day, it's his decision. I respect whatever he wants to do because he's a grown man. However, he will miss out, and as long as he's okay with that, hey, bro, go live your life. Go live your life for him.
So with the 4 majors throughout the tennis cycle, so 2 of them now, we got the French and Australian Open. 2 of them have decided, you need vaccination. With London, Wimbledon, and New York, US Open, if they come to that stance also, and it's a global thing where everyone's on this page, Djokovic tied right now from where he's at. He's still in his prime. Like, he's going to get there. Like, that's beyond question, right?
Yeah, I mean,
what does he do?
I would assume so.
And to add, sorry, Julian, to add before you jump in, the UK is not having any more mandates. Like, they announced this week, no more masks. They don't like the I guess the premier, what do you call them? Like, what's his name? Boris, whatever his name is. But
Boris Johnson.
Boris Johnson.
I think the prime minister, right?
Prime minister. I don't know English. Prime minister.
He said the Commonwealth. So.
Yeah, Commonwealth. Prime minister, premier. Yeah, the prime minister. He said that he's gonna like he's over COVID. So essentially, Wimbledon he'll be fine, and New York, their laws are only for indoor events. Luckily, it's open. So he can play for those 2 events, because Wimbledon, remember, to fly into America, there's no law to be vaccinated to fly into America. However, to fly, but to be in New York indoor, you have to be vaxxed. Outdoor, he'll be fine. So the other 2 majors, he'll be okay, but the first 2, like Julian said, they're more strict. So it is what it is.
Shout out Nelly J, who compared premier to prime minister. Yes. One leads, but I love it, because if you look at the comparison, our premier of our province, Ontario, Mr. Doug Ford, looks very similar and as disheveled as Boris Johnson, who caught COVID during his early part of his prime minister stint.
Remember that? And he was really sick, and they both kind of resemble too. Die. Yeah, they both kind of look alike to me. So anyway, Boris, Doug, same people to me at the same time.
Just declared we're over COVID. We're over.
Yo,
guys.
Listen,
Forget
the UK, they're over it. We're done. Like, I was like, wow. They're like, no more mask mandates, no more vaccine mandates. Like, they don't care. I think some economies have just been shambles, and I think sometimes, you just kind of, and then we'll get into it later. But yeah, the UK announced that they're not going to have any more mandates, so he'll be fine for Wimbledon and for the States. For US Open.
One more thing, just on the Australian side of it, they don't even have rapid testing for their own people. Like, in the country, there's a shortage of the rapid testing for COVID. And so to even have someone who's not vaccinated, that would then be taking away opportunities for people within their own country who have, people forget, they had massive floods, they had massive fires, and then they got COVID. Australia was one of the most hard hit places for like 6 months there. There was a 6 month stretch that it was like, what's next? Like, what is there, like a giant shark tornado that's going to come through the land, like Sharknado 5 attack Australia? Like, it's crazy. And so again, just the humanity side of this is the part that I have the problem with. Right. His decision. You don't want to get vaccinated, don't get vaccinated, but you ain't going to play. And so again, it's also his stance. It's the arrogance around the whole
Yeah,
situation
it's how he handles
that paints him
himself.
bad.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. And Julian, do you think that's why, like, um, like we don't really care? You know what I'm saying?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, it's
Do you
tough.
think
It's
do you think his character? 'Cause remember, when it comes to judging, right? Especially like these guys know these athletes, right? So they've seen them in different instances, right? So like you said, Novak has been known to say the wrong things and be arrogant. So now he's being governed by people who've known him before, and maybe they didn't even like him in the first place. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know. Just your thoughts.
I think people are more willing to make an example of him
Okay.
because he is outspoken and because he's also just forget anything previous to COVID. He has handled COVID very poorly on a personal level by testing positive and still remaining with people, not quarantining and breaking curfew. You have a disregard for what's going on globally, and then you go into a country that's been hit so hard by it that government's like, why would we want someone who's not vaccinated to come to our country? And then I was reading an article today, and one of the reasons that they deported him was because they were afraid that if they allowed Novak Djokovic to enter the country, participate in a tournament, that then it would spread the anti-vax propaganda and
Within the
start to
country.
put pressure on their health system. And so Australia, that's a huge W. I got you. Glad you did what you did. I stand by you.
Mhm.
Wow. No, makes sense to me. Makes sense to me.
Let's go to for the culture.
For the culture, we like to highlight individuals for the culture. And today we get to highlight two amazing upcoming, I would say, stars in the tennis world. Both of these athletes won Canada's Male Player of the Year. And they're both people of color, which is really dope. So Leylah Annie Fernandez, the star, yeah, she's the one that lost in the US Open, but I think all of the world fell in love with her. And Felix Auger-Aliassime, sorry if I butchered your last name, bro. I'm sorry, Felix. But both of those guys came up out of nowhere. Sorry. And now they're Canada's male and female players of the year. So I want to kind of highlight them because, especially in tennis, people of color is very rare sighting. And the fact that these guys are both top of their game and they're both in Canada is just beautiful to see. So your thoughts on this? I'm gonna start with Julian.
Actually, can I just throw my thought in real quick?
Of course, of course.
That was about a 7 out of 10 for his name. Like you were
Hey,
so
Felix,
close.
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry, Felix.
Once it's Felix Auger-Aliassime.
Aliassime, Felix Auger-Aliassime. Thank you, Fahim. Thank you, Fahim.
Not a problem.
I mean, when you say it with confidence, people are going to just be like, yeah, I mean, I agree, Nelly J. I mean, what she said sounded right. When you read it out,
name to that, right?
Phonetically, he's probably going to change his name now. It's like, pronounce it like Nelly J just did. Listen, back-to-back segments. I love it. I'll be the tennis guru because tennis my favorite sport growing up. I was lucky enough to participate in some Tennis Canada stuff as a youngin'. And it's funny because, you know, growing up in my generation, Milos Raonic was the guy. You know, Milos Raonic was the guy. Dano Nestor was obviously the doubles guru, but Milos Raonic was like the young up-and-coming stud singles player. And when you look now at where tennis is in Canada, there's a lot of excitement. And this is sort of the second wave or 1B wave to what we had. You know, we have Denis Shapovalov. I can't pronounce his last name. Fahim, you can name check me in a little bit.
Fahim will correct you. Don't worry.
There we go. That guy. We had Bianca Andreescu. Know how to say her name.
Yep.
So
Bianca.
They were like the darlings that just came up right before. I mean, we're still in the midst of it. Eugenie Bouchard, also another Canadian tennis player. But what Leylah Fernandez did as a teenager, and forget the fact that she fell in the finals of the US Open last year. The speech she gave,
oh man,
when she lost, was the reason she is not just a household name in Canada, but on the WTA. And I think that's a bigger thing. I think sometimes we need to look out of the scope of what's going on within our country and understand where we're being recognized on a global scale. That being said, Leylah Fernandez didn't just win Tennis Canada's Female Tennis Player of the Year. She was named the Canadian Press Female Athlete of the Year. And she went up against Olympians. Like Penny Olisiak was one of the names on that list as well. Former winners was Christine St. Clair, the GOAT of women's soccer. So, I mean, she's getting recognized. I think she went as high as 11th or something last year in the rankings. Like, she skyrocketed. The tennis point system's kind of weird as far as seedings go, but hey, listen, she was killing it. There's a lot of expectations on her, and this is where we see people get tested. You can have that rookie breakout, but now let's sustain it. I think she's going to be here a little bit more than Eugenie Bouchard. She's got that little Anna Kournikova feel to it. If you know, you know. Bianca, a little bit injured. So hopefully Leylah can represent. And then my guy, who I call FAA, because I ain't pronouncing that name.
FAA. Smart.
Yeah, exactly. FAA is just, he's a stud. He played last night when we're recording this.
Yes.
Absolute stud. Young guy. He got named tennis player. Canadian tennis player of the year.
Yes.
Singles player of the year and most improved player of the year. All by Tennis Canada.
3 awards. Yep.
So my guy's raking in the hardware, and I think Canada wanted Milos to be the guy to break through. I think FAA has got it. I think Dennis, I butchered the last name, Shapovalov. There we go. One of those names. Yeah. He's the Nick Kyrgios of tennis. And if you don't know him, he's a lot of antics, a lot of energy. He's gotten into some issues. Like, I think he hit the referee with a tennis ball one time, and he got disqualified at one of the cups. But I think FAA is the guy who is going to lead Canada and be the face of Tennis Canada for years to come. So excited. Don't be surprised if we see a deep run from him in this Australian Open. With Novak Djokovic gone, a lot of people think that it's their time. We could very well see him make a semifinal, if not a final this year. He's that talented.
I agree.
And to just add some rankings, so FAA, he's actually ranked 9th right now, and Leylah is ranked 24th in the world for WTA and ATP. So these are definitely both rising stars, and they're both Canadian. Also, they're both born in Montreal, which is kind of interesting. So yeah, go ahead, Fahim.
No, I was going to say with Tennis Canada. So my era would go way back to like Carling Bassett, like I'm talking early 80s, right? And it always felt like Tennis Canada was very white. There's been no outside flavor to the pot. And once we have a Canadian who reaches somewhere of some kind of standing, not just Tennis Canada, I'm talking about the media, they really rally behind this, so I found with Milos, that was what's happening. Milos, he was close to getting into that conversation, but injuries really hurt him. I'm glad now that I can actually see, we'll go with FAA, but yeah, Felix Auger-Aliassime. And
show off. He's showing off now.
and Leylah, be for the next generation. It's great to see some representation in Tennis Canada. I'm just really hoping that the media rallies behind them before they get to the top of the mountain. Meaning, I think sometimes it might be harder for someone of color to get that kind of push. It's almost like you have to work twice as hard and achieve twice as much to get the same kind of push. So I think that, and this is not about separation, because Shapovalov, he's like, I love him. He's a great player, right? But I feel our media would be a lot quicker to go behind and support and give that Milos Raonic push around someone such as Shapovalov before they would with Felix. So that's my only, I wouldn't say it's a concern. That's just my only take on this. I want to see that same kind of Milos Raonic rally behind with these two, because they've earned it.
You want that same energy. You want this,
yeah,
like,
because you're right,
keep
Fahim,
that same
like,
energy.
For Felix, the push hasn't been there for him like Milos, like for sure. It has not been there because it has not, and that's why I was going to bring it up. I'm happy you did, because it's something that the Canadian media has to be called out on, right? Push him as much as Milos, period, right? Like, he's a dynamic player. He's young too, like he's young, and he's already ranked 9th. I think, like what Julian said, he'll be playing tennis for a long time. So, and I think he'll also be top 10 for a long time. Like, I can't see him going down. So yeah, I just hope that they keep that same energy, and we will hold them accountable if they don't. Y'all know us, a good rookie, shoot. We're gonna let them know.
I hate defending media, because I just don't like it. It makes me feel gross. It makes me feel dirty.
Why?
But just because, like, I feel like it's the people versus the, like, conglomerate, like the corporation. Like,
yeah,
we're always battling. We always have to battle, right? We need the resistance. But in this case, I understand the hesitancy, and it has nothing, in my opinion, again, it's just one man's opinion, I don't think it has anything to do with the fact that FAA is person of color. I think it's more of, they pushed Eugenie Bouchard very hard when she was coming up. And the same thing with Bianca. Like, they got huge pushes, and then ultimately it fizzled out. It didn't lead to anything. Bianca had a great season, and we'll call it a season, and then that was it. Injuries derailed her. She got into some, like, social media stuff where she wasn't really talking to like her fans, and then wasn't doing tournaments and interviews and all of this kind of stuff to try to get back. And then she's missed the Australian Open, I think, like 2 or 3 years in a row now due to injury. I think there was some pause about not pushing someone very, like, wrestling like and boxing like. Fahim can appreciate this. Not pushing the star out that you know is going to be a star, but not pushing them into the bright lights too much, too fast. Because if it doesn't work out, some of these athletes never recover. Some of these athletes get blinded by the big lights. They get an injury. They lose a really tough match, and they just never rebound the way that we want them to, or that they hope for themselves to as well. And so I'm hoping to give the benefit of the doubt. I'm hoping that that's the reason, that they want to ease him in and push Dennis, because I honestly, in my heart of hearts, I think FAA has the star power and the skill to be the best guy in tennis in Canada. I don't know if that's Dennis. I think Dennis is going to be hot and cold. He's going to be 50-50, maybe 40-60 with his wins losses, but he's entertaining. Push him, let FAA build himself up, and then he will shine when his time is ready. I'm hoping that's what the case is.
Well, I mean, to your point, right? If you look at FFA, like, even his last year, like yeah, in 2021, like, he was first round, fourth round, qualifying, finals, semifinals, US Open. So I just think that he could be peaking like this season, like this year. And, I think for Milos, I think he really peaked when he was in the Wimbledon finals, right? That was when, like, the media went crazy because having a Canadian in the finals, right? So I just think that I'm watching for that. Like, when FAA makes it to a final, so like Wimbledon or one of the big fours, when he does, because I think he will this year, make it to a final, I just hope they keep the same energy. You know what I'm saying? That's just me. I just hope they keep the same energy, right? So
what I want people to remember is, if his ranking goes down over the next year, don't be alarmed. Because the way tennis is set up is, when you win tournaments or you do well the previous year, you have to defend those. If you don't get to the same level, you start to lose those points. So it's a slow burn. He's going to be here for a while. Forget about the rankings. Care about the result. He's going to do big things. 2022, 2023. Let's go.
So, of the two of them, Leylah and Felix, put your prediction of who you think wins a major first.
I go Leylah. And I say Leylah because women's tennis, and I think we've had this conversation before, women's tennis can be a coin flip at times. There isn't a steady perennial number one since Serena was in her prime. With tennis, you still have to go against a Rafa Nadal at the French Open. You still got to go against the Novak Djokovic at some point in the near future. And Roger Federer has basically said he is going to play in at least one major every year, and that major is always going to be Wimbledon because he's one of the toughest men to beat on grass.
Yes.
There's right there, those four guys could win the next, or sorry, those three guys could win the next 6 majors. And no one would really bat an eye because they're that good. I think the separation is that high. With women's tennis, I don't know. I feel like her chance to win within the next 3 years is far greater than FAA right now.
I like
totally
that.
agree.
Yeah, I agree.
I totally agree. One other take I have for Felix is, in regards to, so there's a perfect storm. Felix, A, he's marketable. B, he has the game to back it. C, there's a growing minority. I'd have to say there's a growing minority household in regards to household incomes. You know what I'm saying? You're getting more people going into the other tax bracket. I'm just wondering, tennis, which we've always viewed as, the rich white sport, right? Now it's more accessible, I feel, for minorities to get involved into it because they can afford it. I'm just wondering, with this perfect storm, why even forget looking outside of our home, looking inside the culture? Why aren't we within the culture giving him sponsorships and pushing him as that guy within the culture? You get what I'm saying? It still doesn't feel like, for what he's achieved, that in the community we are really he's even on our radar to begin with.
Great question.
Tough times. I mean, it's an excuse, but realistically, it's tough times. It's a tough time right now in the global market of things to get sponsorships and have people want to spend money, let alone in a sport like tennis right now that still isn't viewed as a major four sport, right? We're going to talk major four sports. We're talking basketball, baseball, hockey, what is football? I can't believe I forgot football. Even there right now there's pause to spend money, to spend sponsorships and create deals, but there's a backing that says, hey, if we put X amount of dollars, our return is going to be humongous. With tennis right now, it's hard. And when you have a Novak Djokovic who's not going to be in your tennis tournament, that does affect your bottom line. That does affect the amount of viewers and tickets that you're going to sell. And without that, tennis isn't a hugely profit. It makes money, but it's not making the billions and billions of dollars the NBA, the NFL, NHL, MLB is making. So,
well, can I say this, Julian?
Yeah.
You do have players. You do have players who, when you look at the top 10 or top 20 of individuals who are up there, they're tennis players that are in there that are amongst the highest paid players, right? I think being a tennis player, you can be paid well. It's not like the WNBA.
Hey, Fahim. Sorry, but in Canada, I'm sorry, if we don't play hockey, you don't get that kind of love. This is what it is, guys. We're in Canada. If Felix was in the States, he'd be getting enough endorsements. He'd probably be being quoted in rap songs right now. He'd probably be invited to present at the BET Awards. You know what I'm saying? Unfortunately, Black Canadian athletes don't get that love. Alphonso Davies gets love a lot more in the soccer world than they think. Even in Canada, people don't even know. Listen, someone legit didn't know who Alphonso Davies was. And I was like, excuse me? Because again, he's a Black man that's really good in a sport in Canada. Canada does not push our people, our Black athletes, unless and I've seen it all the time. Now, I would say TSN shows Alfonso love. I've seen Sportsnet, they do it, but it's they do it because he's the best at what he's doing right now. You know what I'm saying? You have no choice. But I feel even the Canadian team, when they were winning in the qualifying for the World Cup, I felt people weren't even aware. They're oh yeah? Unfortunately, soccer tennis, like basketball's not getting love now because we won the entire thing. You know what I'm saying? So I just think if Felix was American, he would get all that stuff already. But in Canada, I'm sorry guys, it's harder. It's way hard to get up here.
It's definitely a Canadian thing, because outside of North America, if you were to say Alphonso Davies, people are like losing it.
Of course.
Right? He was named one of the top 11 players, number one for his position, just last year. This is a guy who started with the Vancouver Whitecaps in the MLS, got signed to one of the biggest clubs in Europe, Bayern Munich, and they are tearing it up. Those people win trophies. Like, I don't know, Steph Curry hits threes. It's automatic. It just happens.
Except
and so,
in big games.
Well, sure. But here's the thing. In soccer, you very rarely see repeats. It's very different because each country plays a very different style of game.
Yes.
So it's apples and oranges, not the same. And if I remember correctly, Steph Curry's lost a few championships as well. I digress. Anyway, my thing is Canada's a little bit slow in that thing because hockey is our thing. You know, basketball is becoming the thing.
Becoming a little bit more. Yep.
But I would even say, and correct me if I'm wrong, MMA has a much bigger backing in Canada
Facts.
than tennis.
Facts.
And maybe soccer, because you have a guy named George St. Pierre. You have other athletes who are starting to kill it. And Fahim hit the nail on the head. And his point when he talked about accessibility, when it comes to MMA, we've seen people get their claim to fame by fighting in backyards. Low production, shot on like a flip phone. If you go viral, or if you put, enough people into that moment where they're so excited about seeing it, you're going to make it. And so you don't need a whole lot of things. Tennis is still a fairly expensive sport to play in. At a certain level, when you're playing for big clubs, and I'm talking in Toronto, we got Cricket Club, Granite Club, these are where the tennis factories are built. And if you can't afford to be a member of those communities, you can't afford to get coaches, you can't afford to get the nice gear, you're just simply not going to compete. And tennis is still, it's getting better, but it's still a little bit of a rich person sport. Rich person. Women got money too.
So I guess what I'm hearing is we really need to get a push to have Felix Auger-Aliassime present at the Junos.
Oh, Junos. I liked BET. I take Soul Train Awards over the Junos.
I know, he just wants to be funny. Listen, all I'm saying is that you saw how much love Serena and Venus got even before they won anything by the culture. And I just hope in Toronto or in Canada, the culture does accept him. And, we're definitely going to keep pushing him, talk about him. But it's why we're here. Good rookies, right? We promote people that, unfortunately aren't getting the love. But I do hope they both, because I feel like Leylah's getting the love right now because of her speech, like you said, in US Open, and the world, like America loves her. But I think Felix is coming up. But I just hope that, again, you can ask someone of color, Alphonso Davies, you know who that guy is? They'll be like, what? What? If you don't follow soccer, you won't know who he is, right? So it's just something that is Canada. We're just so slow. Like the main media is so slow to give people their credit. Very slow. So I hope that with these guys, they get it. And y'all keep the same energy. I'm watching. I'm watching it. I'm watching it.
So on the way out of For the Culture, I just want to mention Felix. I just looked up his sponsorships. For what I got, this is obviously could be outdated, but we have Adidas. We have Adidas. We have Boblat.
Babolat.
Oh, yes. Correct him. Yes. Yes. Sorry, I'm so evil. Go ahead.
And Tag.
Yeah.
The watchmaker. So, I mean, he's not, he's doing pretty well so far, but, I'm just hoping we can get him in some commercials, some advertisement, get some more visibility, and,
Hey, Drake, have him in your video, bro. Have him in your video. All right. Just maybe two clips of him hitting,
a verse, put his name, slip his name in there,
Yeah.
That'd
batting my tennis ball like Felix, FAA, something like that, Drake. I'm not you, but like that.
Like he made a song about draft day, Johnny Manziel.
Right.
blew him up.
Yeah.
So yeah, FAA gets his song. He gets on a track. He's in a music video posting up.
Get him
I can
somewhere,
see
man.
an OVO FAA collab coming. It's gonna be big.
Yo, let's manifest for FAA.
Let's make
man.
that happen.
That's
All right. So Nelly J, let's close it out with That's Absurd.
That's absurd for him, bro. What was absurd this week? What was absurd?
So this is going to be an interesting one. NBA officials, they put on a tweet to petition to the NFL to discipline Dallas Cowboys quarterback Dak Prescott for supporting the trashing of NFL referees after the Dallas loss. I have to put this in the, I guess, the category of mind your business, and I'm going to go with that's absurd.
So hold on, you're saying the refs are asking who? The NFL?
Right. In a tweet. So after the Dallas game, fans were throwing trash at the referees as they're leaving. Obviously very frustrated with the Cowboys loss. And the NBA referees.
The NFL referee.
Sorry. NFL, my apologies. Yes. The trash at NFL referees. Mm-hmm. But the NBA referees made a tweet simply stating that they feel that he should be disciplined for that. Julian, you're laughing.
That's absurd.
It's so funny. It's so funny because I watched the press conference and Dak was emotional. Dak was responsible for what happened. Dak also thought that the fans were throwing trash at the Cowboys. And that's when, and I can see why the NBA officials were upset, because he was talking all of this stuff about it wasn't very great. I can't believe that this happened. And then when a reporter corrected him and said, hey, they were actually throwing at the officials, he was kind of like, oh, sounds about right. And it was like so disrespectful in like the most subtle way. But like this had to happen to the Cowboys, right? Like this situation just is Jerry Jones, it's Mike McCarthy, it's Dak Prescott, it's the history of the Dallas Cowboys. Should he be disciplined? No. That is the most absurd thing in the world that I've ever heard. Should the NBA officials, one of the most corrupt organizations that just had referees fixing games and shaving points because they had to, pay their debts or whatever. Fahim said it. Mind your business. Okay. Keep yourself out of my business. Watch your nose. You might get caught one day in a door. Like, just chill out. Mm-hmm. NBA, stay in your lane. The NFL, Dak Prescott got what was coming to him already. He was responsible for the loss. He's already going to be feeling it. He's going to be hearing it from the media pundits till next season. Leave the man alone. Dallas Cowboys, you trash. Your fans are trash. The only thing I will say is I don't agree with that belongs in the game at all. Like, that should not ever happen to anybody. Mm-hmm. Home team, visiting team referees, no one deserves to have things thrown at them in a place that they conduct business. So I would say let's address those issues, but like, come on. Dak doesn't need to get reprimanded for this.
LJ, I'm going to let you close this out, but I'm going to give the quote of what they said from the tweet. It's really
there
quick,
you go.
Okay? It goes like this. The NBRA, which is the NBA referees official page, condemns the comments by Dak Prescott condoning violence against the game officials. As an NFL leader, he should know better. We encourage the NFL to take action and discourage this deplorable behavior in the future.
Okay. So, I mean, discourage and discipline, I feel, are a little bit different. Discourage is, now, Dak, you can't be telling people they can throw trash at the officials when things don't go your way. Like, okay. Sure, a public statement from Roger Goodell saying, we stand by the idea that people should not be throwing inanimate objects at sporting events. Sure. Mm. But, like, you can't point Dak out. No. Dak didn't encourage it, but he also wasn't like, we shouldn't do that. So, leave the... It's a much ado about nothing.
But keep in mind, right? And to your point, Julian, Dak did apologize. He was like, hold up, what I said probably wasn't right. And then he apologized the next day saying, my bad, and it happens. After a tough game like that, you lose. Sometimes you ain't thinking straight, right? So he made a mistake. He said he's sorry. But y'all, on January 20th, it came out. I don't think any of you guys saw that. The NFL fined him $25,000 for his comments. That came out today.
Fun league for a reason.
So the fact that they fined him for saying, that sounds about right. Are you serious? Like, he didn't even say, yes, guys, continue to throw trash at the refs. No, he said it. He said he made a blurb mistake in his comments. He said sorry, but the NFL is still fining him $25K. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. I that's just absurd. On top of the absurd, it's absurd NBA refs. It's absurd that NFL fined him. It's just absurd all over. Like absurd. Like madness. Absolute absurd madness. NFL. Like for real. NBA refs, mind your goddamn business, because y'all already annoy us as Raptor fans. Y'all stink. That's right. And y'all can't find me either. Ha ha. Anyways, I'm being petty.
Stop snitching. Stop snitching.
Stop snitching.
That's all.
Snitches get stitches.
Yo, listen, they can't find us. So Dak, listen, man, we're not condoning violence, but you said sorry, right? You apologize, right? However, for the NFL to fine you like that, man, $25K, because they want to keep the media and the refs happy, that's some BS. But luckily, you got that big check last year, so yeah, that $25K is like $1. Luckily,
pocket change.
But hold up, but the NFL didn't fine. Did the NFL fine A-Rod? Did they fine him for misleading the whole vax status?
Yo, you can't mention this at the end of a podcast.
No, but I'm saying I have to bring it up, right? Because they're gonna fine Dak $25K. Hold on, how much did they fine A-Rod for his comment? Let me look it up, because do you guys know how much they got fined?
Nope.
Because again, another brother in the NFL getting reprimanded for not even condoning stuff, but these white people them in the NFL. Hold up, A-Rod. Was A-Rod? I'm looking.
She's on the case. I feel sorry for these NBA refs right now.
I know the Green Bay Packers were fined as an organization. They fined some of their players around the time of that vaccination hoopla that came up. I don't think he was fined because he didn't say he was vaccinated. He said he was immunized. He used wording that may have been confusing, and allowed people to think that that's what he meant. But he never said that he was vaccinated.
So he was fined though. They did find him for $14,650. So they fined him, but
half the amount.
Half the amount that Dak got fined. So this fining thing is not consistent, dog. It's not consistent. Because to me, what A-Rod did was way worse than what
Dak did.
Way worse. Way. You understand? Okay. I rest my case.
You gotta say his name right. It's A-Fraud. And A-Fraud for a reason. A-Fraud. Sponsored by Ivermectin.
Ivermectin. Oh my gosh. I'm sorry, y'all. The end got kind of spicy.
All right, Nelly J, let's put this episode in the books.
Yo, so that was episode 75. Hey. So, Julian, you know the deal. I ain't got to say nothing, dog. Just give us your shout out. The flow is yours.
I love this portion, shouting out people. As always, Good Rookies Podcast, always number one. But 1B this week is going to the Toronto Raptors fan club on Clubhouse, hosted and run by the two hosts of the Good Rookies Podcast, Fahim the Dream and Nelly J. Amazing community building. And I know we talk about pod community, pod brothers, but what's happening on Clubhouse with what you guys are orchestrating and doing and creating from the grassroots is amazing. You've created a community of people who know very little about basketball or know nothing, with people who know everything that there is. And no one feels like they're slighted. It is really the epitome of community, and it is continuing to grow, and it is continuing to be there for every Toronto Raptors game. I love what you're doing. I know the people who are part of the community love what you are doing. So again, whether it's the Good Rookies Podcast, whether it's the Toronto Raptors fan club on Clubhouse, which I'm sure you all know where to go to find that information, or whether it's the fire social media that's going on, you guys are continuing to not just elevate yourselves, elevate the culture, elevate the community, but you're continuing to bring people from different walks of life together under one roof to talk about A-Fraud some more in some future episodes. When they lose next week, by the time this airs, they're out of the playoffs. Let's go. And I look forward to our next time. And one last thing, I'm not going to say this so Drea can hear me. Shout out Drea. Go Raps, go. Go Raps, go. Are we going to do it this year? I feel like we're building to something special here, but I'm going to just say it quietly as I leave.
Listen, it's special times, man. Special times. A lot of people didn't think the Raptors would be doing so well, and we're in it. We're in it. Like, it's great, but we got a lot to grow. We got a lot to learn from. It's a young team, but it's promising for the future. So thank you for your shout out, Julian. I want to shout you out, the Big O Podcast. Great, great, great podcast. You know, father, husband, okay, right? Thought provoker, right? Just really great having you a part of our community. And, you know, like, we're all going to build together. I can't wait for your next season of your podcast. When it drops, we'll promote it for sure, because I'm excited to see what guests you get on this season. But no, definitely mad love to you. I also want to shout out, we actually had a few things happen that I want to, of course, highlight this week. So I want to highlight Willie O'Ree. So he's the first ever Black hockey player to break the, I would say, barrier in the NHL. And he was actually awarded this week and got his jersey hung this week in Boston. So that was a very special, you know, he's Canadian. He was a Black athlete that really was the first to play in the NHL. So we can imagine what he had to go through back in the day playing in Boston in the 1950s. Like, you know what I'm saying? So huge hero huge pioneer to hockey and to Black people in our community. So big up to Willie O'Ree. And I also want to shout out, we lost a really special athlete, Lucia Harris. She was the first woman ever drafted in the NBA. That's right, y'all. She was drafted in the NBA. And I mean, I actually was watching her video. I'm like, wow, she was really good. But she passed away this week. So rest in peace to her. But it's really good to see someone like her, who was also one of the pioneers in women's basketball and was never really recognized that much in the main media. But when she passed, they were kind of bringing her up now. But I just want to shout her out because she's someone I think is a pioneer to women everywhere that love basketball, that watch it or play it. So just shout out to Lucia Harris. So that's for me, Fahim.
I want to piggyback off of that because actually that was my shout out for this week also.
Oh, was it? Okay.
Oh, yes, it was. It was. Yeah, 3-time national champion. And she was the first woman to score a basket in the Olympics. And she's the first Black woman enshrined in the Basketball Hall of Fame. Mm-hmm. And yeah, it's and we're not alone with this to say that we've never known this before. I've been speaking to people throughout the week about it, and everyone's so impressed. But it's kind of a shame that we have to wait for people to pass away and not give them their flowers while they're here. You know, so I wish I'd known that she even existed. You know, so that's just so yeah, Lucia Harris, definitely. If you have a chance, just take a quick Google search and look her up. Enough respect and rest in peace to her. I do want to shout out Julian, of course. Like I said, the Pod brother. Just keep killing it. If someone's been obviously been sitting with us for the last hour of this episode, you know the heat and what he comes with. Very prepared, very knowledgeable. He's got all the goods. So please check him out at the Big O Podcast. Also, you could check him out also on the No Instructions Needed podcast also.
Yes.
He's somebody who, when we talk about podcasts, it's been a trend that's been happening, I guess, like the last few years where everyone's getting in. He's in it for real. He takes this craft seriously and it shows in his work. So most definitely, Julian, you know, you've been a return guest. This is almost like you're not a guest, you're like family.
Like you're
you know
just a family now. Yeah, no more guests for you. No more introductions for you anymore. Just be like, hey, Julian, what's up?
You come in the house and you go straight to the fridge. You know what I'm saying? Like that's exactly just the way it is. You know what I'm saying? So
he's brother man. He's brother man. Martin Lawrence.
Exactly. So yeah, Julian, just continue to kill it. Keep doing your thing, and let's put this episode in the books, Nelly J.
Ooh, that was episode 75. Y'all, if you guys had a good time, you enjoyed yourself, please follow Julian. We're going to have
Mhm.
all his information and all our socials everywhere. So follow, support the culture. You know what I'm saying? Please like and subscribe to Good Rookies. We're on all the platforms, and tell a friend to tell a friend to tell a friend. Fahim.
Know where we're at. If you're looking for us, we're on all platforms. If you're looking for taking a good podcast with Julian Ortiz,
Ooh.
that's right. That's Good Rookies Podcast, episode 75. And we out.
Peace.